Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Lamp in the Library. I'm Graham.
I'm Kim.
And today we're going to be talking about the books we are going to be reading in 2021.
Yes, these are just a sneak peek of a couple of the books we're planning to read, and then also sharing what we got for Christmas.
Yeah, we had a great holiday season, and family and friends kind of know our reading tastes and got us appropriate books, I do believe. So I think we did quite well in terms of books that we got for the holiday season. So we'll be sharing those with you today as well.
So we're going to start off with what we received on Christmas Eve, because it's a tradition in my family that you get a new book on Christmas Eve so you have something to read as you wait for Santa.
What a great tradition.
Yeah, I love it. And Graham is now invited into it. So Graham, what did you receive for Christmas Eve?
Well, let me show you. So I got this book by Isaac Asimov, Foundation. It's the first book in the Foundation series. Considered a classic of science fiction, dare I say a foundational work. And I am looking forward to taking a deep dive into this book and the rest of the series.
Great.
What did you get?
I got this book called Ikigai, and it is the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. Ikigai refers to basically your purpose for your life. The thing that gets you into the flow. And it also just shares some of the science behind people who have lived past 100 years of age. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm about halfway through already because I'm just finding it a really fun read. And I'm hoping that I discover what my Ikigai is by the end of it. And I'm sure it will show up in a video very soon with a review.
Do you think our Ikigai is sharing books with the world?
Oh, maybe part of it. Yeah, maybe just sharing.
And reading.
And reading.
So that will get us to a long and purposeful
and
life.
happy life, yes. What's next?
Next up, we have books that we gave each other for Christmas.
Yes.
So Kim got me this book. It's called The Night Sky Almanac, a Stargazer's Guide to 2021. It's published by HarperCollins, and it contains lots of information about celestial events that are coming up in 2021. The cycles of the moon, eclipses, constellations, meteor showers, all of that is in here. So this will encourage both of us to look up into the night sky throughout the year. So thank you, Kim.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. I thought it was a nice companion for the whole year. Graham got me this book, The Sword and the Shield, which is a work of nonfiction that compares and contrasts the lives and philosophies of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. And I believe Graham got it for me because he saw earlier I was reading a collection of Martin Luther King Jr.'s sermons and essays that was edited by Dr. Cornel West, and that book's called The Radical King. And I was talking to Graham a lot about what I was learning and how much I was enjoying it. So I'm looking forward to getting into this, where you kind of look at the two figures at the same time. I have read Malcolm X's autobiography, but it was quite a few years ago, so this will be a really good read to get into.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, a lot of the scholarship seems to focus on the differences between King and Malcolm X and their roles in the civil rights movement. But this book, I think, makes the argument that they were actually much closer in goals than is normally commented on, and they're kind of like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, it should be really interesting.
Yeah. So the next book I have in my pile of 2021 reads, I'm actually reading it right now. It's called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and it's a work of nature writing. It was actually published in 2013, but it's really gained momentum since then from word of mouth and positive reviews, and it's now considered a modern classic of ecological writing. Basically, it mixes the latest science with indigenous storytelling and traditional wisdom, and it's a really great read, so I'm looking forward to continuing this into 2021.
My next book is a bit in the same vein because it deals with nature writing, and it is An Indifference of Birds. And what this book does is look at the history of birds and how human life has impacted their lives. So it's very much trying to take the point of view more of the birds. So I'm very interested in this book. I've read some good reviews about it. It's fairly short, so I'll be passing it over to Graham when I'm done, so then he can read it and we'll be able to share our thoughts on the indifference of birds.
I got this book from my brother for Christmas. We have a tradition among my family of basically sharing used books that we had read and loved. So I'm late to this party. I'm reading Ted Chiang. This is a well-regarded short story collection called Exhalation. I believe it was published in 2019. So really looking forward to reading these short stories. Thank you to my brother for giving me this.
My next book I got for myself, and it's called Friend, and it is a novel from North Korea. It's a state-sanctioned book that was originally published there and then was also allowed to be translated and published so that people outside North Korea could read it. I'm really curious to read this book because North Korea is somewhere that, tends to be shrouded in mystery, and I think this will give us just a little bit of a glimpse into life in North Korea. The story follows a woman who goes to ask for a divorce at the courthouse, and then the judge, when sort of investigating what her marriage was like, you learn about marriage and friendship and just, human relationships. All the while, I think, learning maybe a little bit of what life is like in North Korea. So this is another one that I'm going to be reading really soon, and then going to pass over to Graham, and we will have a booktube video about it very soon.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the books that we get in the West from North Korea are from people who have left the country or escaped the country. But it's really interesting to read a book that is actually sanctioned by the North Korean government and went through that censorship process and passed. So
yes.
What insights do we get into daily life in North Korea? Is it accurate at all? I don't know. We'll have that discussion. So that should be interesting.
Yeah.
So this book is from my mother. It's called Waging Heavy Peace, written by Neil Young, about his life. My father passed a couple years ago, and one of the things I did after he passed was I read a lot of biographies or autobiographies of boomer music deities to kind of tap into the music he loved. Because as a kid, I used to really enjoy going through my dad's record collection and listening to that music, and I still love it to this day. And one of the things that my mother and I did is when I was going from this province to my home province, in the car we listened to the audiobook of the Robbie Robertson biography that was recently published. So in honor of that, she got me this biography of Neil Young. We're all fans of Neil Young in my family, so this should be a good read. Thanks, Mom.
Next up, I have this book called The Sound of the One Hand. 281 Zen koans and their answers. When this book was first published in Japan in 1916, it was just created a huge stir because Zen Buddhism is a tradition that was shared from a master to a student, and it caused a little bit of an outrage for some people that this book was written, that the koans were written down, and then it has the answers to them. So that in itself makes it a bit of a fascinating read with the history of it. At first, when I saw it come up, I was interested to buy it to have all the koans, and I kind of skipped the part that said it had the answers when I read the title. So I've been really thinking about how I'm going to approach the book. I think I might try to cover up some of the answers so that I do allow myself to sit with what's being shared before jumping into the answers, because it would be a little bit like trying to learn math and then just seeing the equation and the answer. It doesn't really give you the steps, so you have the transformation that takes place to understand.
Right.
But overall, yeah, I think it should be a really interesting read.
Yeah. And last, but certainly not least for me, this was one of my greatest discoveries of 2020. It was the Earthsea books by Ursula Guin. And I have read the first 3 volumes in this book, which contains 6 volumes. And what's interesting is the first 3 volumes were all written kind of back to back in the late 60s, early 70s, while the last 3 volumes were written later in Ursula Le Guin's life. I think the 4th book was written in the 90s, and the last book wasn't written until 2006. So it'll be interesting to see what she has to say, and reading about why she felt she had to return to the Earthsea world later in life. So really looking forward to finally finishing this book in 2021.
And my next book is one that I have started twice during 2020, but unfortunately whenever I picked it up I was also sort of reading something else, and I realized that I just need to give my undivided attention to it when I read it because I was getting some of the characters confused, and that is The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. So when I would put it down for a bit and I would come back, I would get the history of the brothers like a little confused. So I realized I just have to start over again and really give it my attention. We live somewhere that's in lockdown again, so it's the time for these big books. And I don't want to give the impression that I wasn't fully engaged when I did pick it up, because it is really good. Just the bits I read, like I was really into it. It was my fault that I was trying to read other things at the same time. So I'm sure I'll be sharing my thoughts on this soon as I read it during our lockdown.
So those were the books that we have lined up so far for 2021. We'll probably finish these books early in the year, if everything goes according to plan, of course. So look for those books in upcoming videos. We're
Yes.
really looking forward to reading these books in the new year.
Yeah.
What did you get for Christmas? What are you planning on reading in 2021? Let us know in the comments.
Yes, and if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe down below and hit the bell so you always know when we have a new video.
So wishing you a happy new year. Keep well.
Yes, and keep reading.
The books that